Well, hello, everyone. It's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Thanks for joining me today. Today, I have a special project for you featuring the new United We Flourish stamp set from the Essentials by Elle line. This is a collaboration with Avery Elle, and this set is called Good Day Mate. You can see that these come with the coordinating dies, but they're sandwiched between these two cardstock pieces, so make sure you don't miss those when you open up your set. Now, I've gone ahead and separated all of my dies, and I actually went ahead and colored all of these off camera. I kind of took them to go with me because sometimes I can't do everything in front of a camera. But now I'm going to take the coordinating dies and I'm going to run them through my die cut machine, and you can see all of my cute little critters that I have cut out here. Now, I'm a firm believer that when you have images this cute, you can keep your card designs really simple and pull it off, and that's what I'm going to do today. That's what I like to do with critter cards. So I'm going to start out by heat embossing a few of the sentiments and just have those ready for my card project. So I'm stamping the sentiments onto some Licorice Twist cardstock. I've prepped the surface using my EK Success powder tool. And now I'm going to add some white embossing powder and just knock off the excess. And then I'm going to go ahead and heat set these. And you can see, to save time, I've actually stamped one on each end so that I can do two at a time. And then I'm going to take these over to my trimmer. I'm using the Tonic Guillotine Trimmer by Tim Holtz today. This thing cuts like butter. I love my Fiskars trimmer, but people rave about this one, and I thought I should give it a try. So I am, and I love it. So now that my sentiment strips are all ready to go, I can start working on my cards. And for this card, I'm using an Essentials by Elle linen cardstock card base. I like a little bit of texture on some clean and simple cards. I just think it adds a little something to it. And you can see I've used a heart die to cut a heart-shaped window onto my card base. And I've also used a larger heart die, and I've die cut that out of some pink cardstock, and I'm going to place that behind my window on the inside of the card. But first, I'm going to go ahead and trim down my sentiment piece here. I've trimmed it into a banner end by trimming right up the middle and then cutting from each corner to that center slit. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of ATG tape runner adhesive to adhere this flat onto my card. I know, right? I adhered it flat. There's a first time for everything. Now, I had a little bit of adhesive showing on the back of that through my window, so I just used this little adhesive pickup to get rid of that extra adhesive. And then I'm going to put my little koala bear here on top using some foam adhesive, and he's kind of like bleeding over into that window, but that's okay. I'm just going to remove any extra adhesive from the back of that. Now, I did feel like this pink heart needed a little bit of texture, so I'm using some Avery Elle Pixie ink, and I'm stamping this wonky backdrop stamp from the Essentials by Elle line onto this heart to give it a little bit of pattern and texture. And then I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to add some adhesive to the back. I'm going to line it up right centered with that window, and then I'm just going to close the card. So this is going to be adhered to the inside of my card. You can see it there, but you'll be able to see it when the card is closed from the outside. Now, I did that same technique with this second card here. I'm just stamping a little bit of texture onto this pink heart. And then I'm going to do just some simple layering onto a heavyweight Nina cardstock card base here. Keeping this really simple. I did add some foam adhesive behind both my sentiment strip and my kangaroo. And you're going to see me put my foam adhesive kind of at the top and the bottom of my kangaroo so that it can kind of straddle that piece that is going behind it for the sentiment. Now, when I get these all adhered together, I can move this around my card and figure out exactly where I want to place it. But I'm kind of a lower right-hand corner grouping kind of girl, if you haven't already figured that out. So I didn't actually have this adhered before, but I'm adhering it all now. Like I said, that foam adhesive is just at the top and the bottom of my kangaroo, so it will sit even with that sentiment strip that's already adhered with some foam adhesive. And then I'm going to add foam adhesive all over the back of this thing and adhere it to my card base. And that's just going to give it a little bit more dimension. Now, if you wanted to keep this on the flatter side, you could skip the foam adhesive behind that heart and just adhere it directly onto your card base. So you can see here's my first two cards. They kind of make a lovely little set, don't you think? And now I'm going to move into my third card. Now for a couple of these cards, I went ahead and used the Avery Elle postage stamp die set and cut some tags out of some wood grain cardstock. This is an embossed wood grain cardstock. And I am just going to use this as kind of a base for my stamped images. So once again, I'm just kind of lining those up. I adhered my sentiment strip using some foam adhesive. I adhered my koala bear there with some foam adhesive onto that tag. And then I'm going to add a little bit of twine through the top here. This Avery Elle twine has a really nice body to it. It's not floppy like other twine, so it makes it really easy to tie, and you can kind of shape it into the shape that you want. So I've gone ahead and added that to the top of my tag, and then I'm going to add this entire grouping onto my card base. And I felt like it needed a little pop of pink, so I just die cut a little heart there, and I added it on using some foam adhesive. Now I'm going to move it around to all these crazy places because I was like, does it really need to go right up there? And in the end, that's where it ended up. So I added that with foam adhesive and then just added some clear Wink of Stella over the entire thing to add some shimmer. Now this card here kind of is a combination of the several cards that I've done before. I'm going to use that tag cut out of the wood grain cardstock. I'm using a pink heart. It's a little bit larger, it's a little bit smaller than the ones I used on the earlier cards. But I'm going to group these all up, and then I am going to add this grouping to a card base. But I was really struggling with this card, and I felt like it really needed something different. So you can see I'm adding all of this onto my tag. And then I die cut another tag out of some pattern paper, and I was like, man, it just needs something else, and I couldn't figure it out. I'm going to go ahead and layer up the two tags together. I used some foam adhesive between the two of them, and then I'm going to add some twine through the top, just some black and white twine, and I'm going to tie it into a little bow. And this is what I do when I'm not sure what I want to do. I just kind of waste a little bit of time and try to figure things out. I did add a little piece of black and white striped pattern paper underneath my sentiment strip, and this is where I was struggling. And I thought, well, I'll grab my wonky backgrounds or backdrops, and I'll stamp a little pattern kind of diagonally across this card base. I'm using a really light gray ink for this, and you can see this triangle stamp from the wonky backdrop stamp set. It's very easy to line up, and originally I was like, okay, I'm just going to stamp it twice, which is why I put my ink pad away. But then I was like, no, it needs to continue to the top. So I inked it up again, and I lined it up and I stamped it. And then I was like, oh, well, that little corner needs a little bit of stamping there. So I went ahead and lined that up. And then I have this really cool pattern kind of diagonally down my card. And I love the way the pattern looked, but I did not love it with this kangaroo for whatever reason. But I thought this gray is perfect for the koala bear. So I'm going to go ahead and just add this koala bear with a sentiment strip, a little bit of black and white pattern paper, and a few pink hearts, and call this one good. And you know what? This one I think actually ended up being my favorite of all of the cards that I created. So you can see I'm just adhering everything together here. I'm using some ATG tape runner adhesive on the back of my sentiment strip to adhere my little striped pattern paper underneath. And then I'm going to take that over to my card base and adhere that down. And I've added some foam adhesive to the back of my koala bear. I believe this is actually a double layer of foam adhesive on the koala bear, and there's a single layer underneath that sentiment strip. And I did have a hard time figuring out, you know, how to get this upright because the slant of the tree is throwing me off. So I got them adhered there. I got my 3 little pink hearts on there, and then I decided it needed a little bit of shimmer, so I added my Wink of Stella to that. Now for the final card, I needed to do something with this kangaroo, and I felt like it just needed another pop of color behind it. So I'm going to use that teal or aqua cardstock there. I considered using my phone as a acrylic block, but I am very accident prone, and I decided that wasn't a good idea. I actually couldn't find my large block, which is why I transitioned to my Misty here. But you can see I stamped that dot pattern all over this aqua cardstock here using some unicorn white pigment ink. I didn't apply the ink too thick because I didn't want it to be overpowering. And then I just adhered this grouping onto all of that stacked up stuff. Now, I haven't done like stacked up die cuts in a long time, and I really enjoyed this, and I think I'm gonna have to bust out the pattern paper soon and get that working again too, because I enjoy layering up pattern papers and die cuts. It's one of my favorite things to do. So here's a look at all 5 of the cards that I created today using the Essentials by Ellen United We Flourish Good Day Mate stamp set. This stamp set was designed exclusively for Ellen Hudson by Avery Elle, and it is only available for a limited time. So be sure, if you love this stamp set, be sure to pick it up. Now, the koala bear has a baby bear in the stamp set, and I didn't use it, and shame on me, because what is cuter than a baby koala bear? But just keep that in mind, that's in there. This comes as a stamp and die combo, so they come together. As always, I will have links to the featured products in the description at YouTube, but head on over to the coordinating blog post because I have more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies over there, as well as the Copic colors that I use to color these images. As always, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.